G'day guys, DYLIEDOG here, and today I thought it would be fun seeing as we're about a week into the season, that we go through all the current legends and Apex legends and do what no YouTube channel has done before and rank them on a tier list. Now, as most tier lists work, we have D, C, B, A, and of course S tier. Now, my legend tiers will basically be, if they're in D tier, they seriously need a buff or a rework. If a legend winds up in C tier, the legend may need a little bit of a buff, but overall they're okay. A B tier legend is probably fine, maybe a little buff, but overall they're pretty balanced. A tier legends will be the most balanced legend in the game, and S tier legends will be the legends that need a nerf. But now you guys know how this tier list will work. Now we'll start at D tier, which I've only had one legend placed, which is Crypto. Now look, Crypto is okay if you look at him individually, but against every other chakra legend in the game, he doesn't do his job as well as other legends. He needs a serious rework to give him some more of a different role from what other legends provide in Apex at the moment. Now in C tier, I've placed Lifeline, Mirage, and Rampart. Now first, Lifeline, despite her passive being incredibly frustrating to go up against, I still think Lifeline is incredibly underpowered, and I think they will need to buff her ultimate to do more than just give your team items, and I think she would be much better off. Now we get to Mirage, and I really don't think he's received much love for quite a while now. Despite him able to being invisible when rezzing, I still think Mirage could use a little bit of a slight buff in some aspect to make him stronger. And now we get to Rampart, and even though she did get a big buff to her minigun, I still think that she needs a lot more work to her tactical. Her walls are way too easy to destroy and need a lot of work. Now we get to B tier, where I've placed Caustic, Bangalore, Fuse, Watson, and Revenant. Now let's start with Caustic, which is kind of a tough one. If you're talking about Storm Point, I'd put Caustic in low B, possibly C tier, but on World's Edge, Caustic is A, possibly an S tier legend. So I think it is fair to put Caustic in the middle of this tier list. And I think he's fine where he is at the moment. But Caustic is probably one of the few legends in the game that is who is very maps, oh my. Now Bangalore, I still think is an extremely balanced legend, but never receives any sort of love from Respawn. So I think with all these tracker legends lately, I think she could receive a buff to help her be less trackable, as she comes off as more of a stealth type soldier. Now, I think this is one of the more surprising ones in this tier list, but I actually think Fuse is in a pretty good spot right now. I mean, I don't think a slight buff could go astray, but I do think that Fuse is in a pretty good spot for the moment. Now, Watson, I think she's also in a good spot as well at the moment, thanks to the numerous changes she got at the start of the season. Now, all Respawn have to do is actually make her abilities workable, and then she'll actually be good. And finally, we have Revenant, and I think Revenant could use a slight buff, but it's a hard one, because we've seen if Revenant is overpowered, that it's just not fun to play against. But seeing as he's received countless nerfs over the past few updates, I think a slight buff wouldn't go astray. And next, we have the A tier legends. And I've placed Ashe, Seer, Wraith, Valk, Pathfinder, Octane, Loba, and Horizon in A tier. Now, I know I have a lot of legends in A tier, but I honestly think that the legend meta at the moment is pretty good. Now, let's start with Ashe. And I know a lot of people have had their opinions on Ashe so far this season, but I think she's actually pretty balanced at this point. Yes, her passive is a little bit overpowered, but I think overall her abilities aren't exactly game-breaking. Now, even though Seer has kind of been forgotten about at the moment, he's still a very good legend to play. His ult is one of the better abilities in the game, and could actually use a slight nerf in my opinion, but overall I think he's okay. Now, I think I'm going to get cancelled for this, but I actually have put Wraith in A tier, and I think she's totally fine. I know, I'm sorry, but I don't actually think she needs a buff, Wraith mains. I think she's in a good spot right now, and doesn't need any sort of changes. Now, Valkyrie is up next, and I think, honestly, she's currently the most balanced legend in the game. Nothing needs to be said about Valk. I think she's in a good spot. Next, we have Pathfinder. And to be honest, I think he's in a pretty good spot as well. But can someone tell Respawn to give him a new passive ability? I think his passive was rendered useless about 5 seasons ago, and there still hasn't been a change. I think he needs a new passive, but overall I think Pathfinder is in a good spot. Now, Octane has received a lot of nerfs lately, including the latest jump pad nerf where they added some sound triggers, and now I think he's in a pretty healthy spot. I think Octane should be left alone for now, and if anything does come to light, then maybe a little change later on, but now I hope Respawn leave him alone. And now we get to Loba, and I think this girl is being absolutely slept on. I think Loba is up there with one of the better legends in the game, and by no means do I think she's overpowered. If you're just starting out playing Apex Legends, and playing with a few mates, then I think you should start maining Loba. She helps for your team, she's mobile with her tactical, and overall I think she's a lot of fun to play. And finally in A tier we have Horizon. Now like Loba, I think this girl is being slept on as well. Yes, in Season 7 she was incredibly broken, but now she's in a very good spot, and being able to get to height like she can, plus her passive not being slowed by landing is a massive buff this season with the new gravity cannons. And finally we get to S tier. Now these legends in S tier are what I believe are the most overpowered legends in Apex and need some changes. Now like I said, the legend meta at the moment is pretty good, but I still think that these two legends in particular need some nerfs. Now who I'm referring to here is Bloodhound and Gibraltar. Now first of all we'll talk about Bloodhound, also known as the wall hack legend. It does seem that Bloodhound in recent times has really taken over the meta for not only scanning, but also being a crutch for most teams when going to any area. Really, there's only Bloodhound who can scan with such ease and wall hack a decent sized area. Now, I don't think Bloodhound needs massive nerfs, but I think that they could definitely do with a nerf to some aspects of their kit. And finally, Gibby. And yes, Gibraltar has been in this state for quite a while now, and even though he has received countless nerfs, he's still in my opinion the best legend in the game. And I think it massively has to do with his gun shield. If you go 1v1 with a Gibraltar, 9 times out of 10 you're going to lose. Being able to block 50 damage is, to put it lightly, overpowered. Now I think the main reason this hasn't been nerfed is because Gibraltar isn't a popular pick. But I still think the gun shield damage should be decreased to 25. Now I do understand the fact that Gibraltar needs to be a little bit overpowered, being a legend with a massive hitbox, but I think blocking 50 damage basically for free is way too much. But there we have it guys, this is the ultimate DYLIEDOG Apex Legends Season 11 tier list. Now I'm thinking a cool idea would be to do a live stream on the weekend, where all of us could come together to make a tier list together as a community, and we can have a discussion live of what you guys think the current Apex Legends meta is. But let me know down below as well if that's a good idea. But that is all from me guys, so make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel for your daily Apex Legends content. But anyway guys, DYLIEDOG will catch you all later.